Director of Finance and Operations at the Division of Developmental Disabilities. This WebEx is for our aged and disabled waiver providers only. We'll be discussing the 15% temporary Appendix K rate increases in our today's WebEx. So I'm all about associating faces behind the names. So I'm gonna take a small chance here to introduce our key DHHS team members. We have Jeremy Branson, who is our Deputy Director of Finance at Medicaid and Long-Term Care. Also present on the Medicaid side are some of Jeremy's teammates. We also have Karen Hausman present. Karen is our Program Manager, Contracted Case Management here at DD, and she's also the subject matter expert for the aged and disabled waiver. We also have Charles Wairy with us today. Charles is our DD Administrator, Data Analytics. He's very instrumental in pulling accurate, appropriate data for Appendix K remittances. So I'll take this chance for Jeremy, Charles, and Karen to quickly introduce themselves and describe briefly what important role they play with our AD providers. Jeremy, would you like to start and maybe introduce your teammates?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Can you guys hear me okay, Lily?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
All right. So Jeremy Brunson, I'm one of the deputies in the Medicaid division, sister agency to our partners in DD. And so I'm joined in the room, in our conference room here on the State Office building with members from our provider screening enrollment resource development team and our claims team, as well as some of our other financial services teammates. So we're here to help support the process of making sure that we can execute on our plan to provide the temporary rate increase payments to providers pursuant with our plan that we submitted to our federal partners that's been approved. So thanks, Lily.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate that. Karen, would you like to go next? Karen?
I can jump in while she's looking to unmute.
I'm sorry, my computer is slightly freezing, so I was having a hard time getting it to come on mute. I'm Karen Hausman. I work closely with the League of Human Dignity, the Area Agency on Aging, DHHS, and the Early Development Network service coordinators. I also work a lot with resource development workers that help enroll and support U.S. providers. Thank you.
Right. She's a subject matter expert, so I'm sure you've heard a lot about her, and she emails you quite a bit, so that's Karen. Charles, would you like this?
Yeah, my name is Charles Wady. I'm the data administrator with DD. I work with the systems that process the claims and payments, and we'll be working in this process to make sure that we pull full and accurate information as it relates to the appendix out to you folks. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charles. Appreciate that. Okay, so the scope of today's WebEx is strictly designed to discuss the temporary 15% Appendix K rate increases and not the recently appropriated funds by the legislator. We did receive a bunch of calls inquiring whether this particular WebEx will address any of that information pertaining to the appropriation that was recently approved by the legislator, and no, the answer is no. This WebEx is strictly designed to discuss the temporary 15% appendix rate increases. And just a quick note that questions previously submitted will be addressed at the end of this presentation under the Q&A section. So we did consolidate quite a number of questions from various providers that submitted their queries after the initial announcement was sent out by Director Tony Green. If the Q&A section doesn't address your questions or concerns, don't worry, please feel free to send us an email at the end of the designated email address or contact us via phone at the end of, there's going to be a toll-free number listed at the end of the presentation also. Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen now so we can follow along. If I can do this, give me a second. Just give me a second here. I'm trying to figure out how to. Okay, can you all see my screen here? Perfect, thank you. Okay, as mentioned, this presentation is for the aged and disabled AD waiver providers. We're going to be discussing the authorization and billing processes for Appendix K, also known as COVID-19. We'll go ahead and skip through the first slide here because I did already introduce the team and talked about the Q&A and the Appendix K scope of WebEx today. All right, so overview of the rate increases. So the Appendix K temporary 15% is only for services rendered between January 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022. The payments will be processed in a retro fashion. So when we submit those claims, you're gonna see just for services from January 1st to June 30th, 2022. Now, there are some exemptions of services that will not be receiving these particular rate increases. And these services are home and modification. And these services are home and vehicle modifications, transportation services, personal emergency response services also. Those particular services will not be receiving any 15% temporary increases. Excuse me. Assisted living facilities received an increase of $20 per day in lieu of a percentage increase. Again, this is Jeremy's team that processed this already. I'm assuming hopefully the payments have already started hitting your bank account, but otherwise those ones already processed. All right, we'll talk about the rate increases implementation. So DD will issue 2 payments for services rendered during 2 payment windows. So service dates starting January 1st through April 30th, 2022. We request that the providers submit their claims no later than May 14th, and DD will begin processing payments starting May 31st, 2022. And then for service dates from May 1st through June 30th, final days to submit your claims is July 14th, and DD will start processing the payments starting July 31st. Now, let me clarify. The processing payment dates are not the dates when the payment will hit your bank account. These are the dates when DD will be done processing your payment. Now, the payment files have to go up to another division that does the final submission of the payment. So that takes about 10 to 15 days, 20 days at the most. So expect the money to hit your bank accounts around June 20th, even though we will begin processing the payment starting May 31st. Okay, and then we'll talk about the processing payment claims. So all claims for the services with increased rates will be compiled and a 15% increase will be calculated. That means that we'll take the total paid claims for the designated period of time, and we'll just calculate 15% on the total claims, on the aggregate totals. This increase will be sent to each provider with a spreadsheet that lists the claims used to calculate each payment. We call it an EOP file. So just so you're aware, we will send you a detailed explanation of exactly why we paid you, how much we paid you, what claims were paid, the services that were paid for, so that you have that file with you. So just expect that file to arrive around the time when we'll be submitting the payments. It will come in an email. And then ALF, assisted living facilities processing. So beginning on or around March 30th, 2022, Jeremy's team processed the claims. They were processed using an increased rate incorporating only $20 per day rate add-on. Again, these were not just individually, it was just a flat rate of $20 per day rate add-on. A retro payment was issued for claims submitted between January 1st and March 30th, 2022. So if we have questions about that, we can direct those to Jeremy's team going forward. Okay, we are now at the Q&A authorizations. Like I mentioned, we did take a couple of questions from numerous providers that submitted their questions beforehand. So we're going to start with authorizations. The question was, will AD waiver providers be given updated authorizations, or are authorizations only updated for the DD waiver providers? If there are no new authorizations, will we receive our normal payments for services with the additional 15% paid separately? And the answer to that is AD waiver providers will not have updated authorizations. All payments will be made outside of the service authorization and will be remitted as a separate payment directly to your bank account. Okay. Right, the next Q&A is about submitting billing. Are we to submit AD billing at our current rate and not the 15% increase? And the answer is yes, that is correct. Submit your AD billing at your current authorized rate. The 15% will be applied toward the total aggregate amount. Will there be a breakdown in the payment for who it is for and dates of service? And the answer is yes. DD will send out an explanation of payments to each provider with all the details. As I mentioned, you're gonna know what the payment is for. We'll send you all the details. All right, this Q&A is about resubmitting claims and late claims. So the question was, do we need to resubmit claims or take any action on our part to receive these 15% increase payments? And the answer is no. All you have to do is to ensure that your claims are submitted by the designated deadlines. DD will process the payments accordingly. You do not need to do anything else. We are here to serve you. We're here to help you out. So we just request that you submit your claims timely to ensure that you get that payment on a timely fashion. And then another question was, if for some reason we do not meet the deadlines, will we lose the opportunity to receive the money? If we miss the first deadline, will any late claims from the first half be paid at the second deadline? Again, I couldn't emphasize enough. We'll do the best we can to make sure that everybody is paid this particular rate increase. However, we do highly recommend that you submit your claims in a timely fashion and meet the deadline so your claims can be included in the payment remittances. DD made the announcement well in advance so you can submit your final claims in a timely manner. Again, we're here to serve you and to help you out, so help us out. All right, the next Q&A is about overtime. The question was, does the 15% increase apply to overtime payments for independent providers? Or will the 15% increase only apply to regular base rate payments? Will the extra overtime payments be lumped together with the 15% base rate payment? Or will a separate payment be made for the overtime hours increase? That's a long question, I get it, but the answer is right there. So the 15% increase will be applied to all paid claims for services between January 1st through June 30th. Therefore, if overtime was earned during that period of time and incorporated with the paid claims, yes, it will be included. The 15% will be applied to the aggregate amount for total services provided during the designated periods and paid accordingly. You will not receive a separate payment just for the overtime. And just so you know, as a side note, this is only applicable to the independent providers only. All right, this Q&A is about services for children. Will payments be for all the AD Waiver disability-related childcare and respite care, both in the home of the child and in the provider's home/childcare agency? And the answer to that is yes. DD will use paid claims data for services rendered January 1st through June 30th. All claims will be lumped together and the 15% increase will be calculated on the aggregate total for each payment segment by the designated deadlines. And then this one is about parental portions. The question is, are the parental portions for extra care for children and disabilities childcare staying the same? And the answer is yes. Those ones are not changing. They remain status quo. Other question was, for AD waiver providers performing services that require a paid parental portion, will they have to submit that paperwork prior to being paid? And the answer is yes. And Jeremy's team can speak more to this, but the plan is to lump all the paid claims for the designated time frame and apply the 15% rate increase to the aggregate total. Now, for the paper claims, the process to remit the 15% increase will be calculated similarly to the non-paper claims, just so that we're uniform, and regardless of whether they're electronic or not. And Jeremy's team can probably speak to this after this, if anybody has more questions about that. And then Q&A, assisted living facilities. The question was, we received an email regarding the assisted living increase of $20 per day. This is fantastic news. Is this $20 per day in addition to the $20 per day for COVID relief funding? Since the amounts are exactly the same, we want to clarify. And the answer to that is there is just one $20 per day rate add-on for assisted living facilities for dates of service between January 1st through June 30th. There's not two separate $20 per day add-ons. Okay, and then this Q&A is about receiving payment. Question was, will this be a separate payment or will this be included with our normal payments for claims? As mentioned earlier, the 15% increase will be a separate payment remitted twice. The first payment is for services rendered between January 1st through April 30th, 2022. Excuse me. And second payment is for services rendered May 1st through June 30th. Again, when we remit the payments on May 31st and July 31st, that does not mean that your payment is going to hit your bank account on those specific days. Please allow no later than 20 days before the money hits your bank account, after the 31st of May and after the 31st of July. Next question, will the 15% payments be directly deposited or will checks be mailed? When should we expect to receive the payment? So all 15% increases will be direct deposited to your bank account that we have on file. The first payment will be processed May 31st, 2022, and second payment will be processed July 31st, 2022. We rely on the accounting unit within DHHS to process our payment files, therefore, which typically takes about 10 to 15 days after we submit our files to them. And then after they have completed their processes with the remittances, it takes about 3 to 5 businesses before the money can hit your bank account. Like I said, allow about 20 days before the money hits your bank account. All right, this Q&A is about taxes for payment. Question was, will FICA taxes be withheld from the 15% payments? And if so, will that FICA tax be refunded to providers that are difficulty of pay providers living with the participants? This is according to IRS Regulation Notice 2014-7. And the answer to that is yes. The plan is to withhold the FICA taxes for eligible providers. Since these 15% increase payments will be processed manually, which means they're going to be processed outside of the typical payment system, the FICA tax, if any, will be calculated and withheld. Now, if you qualify under the difficulty of care category, the FICA tax will be refunded accordingly for tax year 2022, like we have done in the previous years. Question came in and asked, if providers want to talk to someone about this, is there an email or phone number we can use? And the answer is yes. We are here for you. We're here to help you. We're here to serve you. You can email your any questions you have to dhhs.ddproviderrelations@nebraska.gov. We also have a toll-free phone number that you can call us, 877-667-6266, and somebody from our 6266, and somebody from our team will be sure to respond to you with a response to your questions and concerns. All right, thank you so much for your time. Do we have any specific questions, or does Karen want to add anything? Jeremy, Charles, anyone would like to add anything to what we have presented?
Thanks. This is Jeremy. I don't think I have anything to add at this point. Thank you, Lily.
You're welcome. Any specific questions from our providers that we can answer for you today?
I have a question. I was on the wrong link. I was on the 22nd trying to get on. So I missed the first 20 minutes almost, I think. So can we get a copy of your PowerPoint?
Yes, absolutely. The plan is for us to email this copy out to all our providers. We will also post the link of this particular presentation on our external website. Absolutely. We'll make that available to you. You're welcome.
Yes, hi, I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I just want to be clear. So we don't need to do any further claim submitting if we've already submitted the claims?
So to answer that question, the services will be paid starting January 1st through April 30th. So you will need to submit your claims for that duration of time for the first batch of payment. Otherwise, you don't have to do anything else on your time other than submit your normal claims like you would with your current authorized rate.
Okay. So, and again, I'm sorry. So we don't, okay, because I know that you're backdating to January 1st. So the claims that we've already submitted, we don't need to do anything further with those?
No, you do not.
Okay. To submit claims as normal.
Correct.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, I was a little late getting on, and my name is Donna. And the question that I have, I guess, is I provide services for a person that gets services through the aged and disabled waiver. So is this included in this?
Yes, this particular presentation is actually just for the aged and disabled waiver providers. So yes, it's included.
Okay, so I was just checking on that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome.
There are two questions in the chat. The first one says, what about claims that have been submitted but not yet paid? How will that work?
Charles, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're the guru with pulling the data from our databases. But what we plan to do is we're gonna make sure that we pull the data from January 1st through April 30th. Most of those claims are most likely paid, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they're paid up to up to April 30th, then we shall attach the 15% rate increase from January through April 30th. And if they're not paid by that time, we'll have to address them as a case-by-case basis in that case. Otherwise, we know that by the time they're submitted, they should be paid because we are gonna pay off using the paid claims data. Charles, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think he did a good job of covering it. The one little piece I might add is that there's about a 2-week buffer between when the payments should be submitted and when we're actually going to pull the data to allow for processing.
Perfect.
There's another question on the chat. While the 15% increase is appreciated from January to June for the aged and disabled waiver providers, why does it stop in June?
That was what was approved for us. Jeremy, would you like to dive in and discuss a little bit why we are just processing these payments up to June? I believe that's what CMS approved for us to remit these payments for, and the Governor Ricketts also, our Governor Pete Ricketts also did approve just for these payments. They are typically relief payments to help our providers, and that's why they are only ending up to June. But Jeremy, you can add more to that if you have more information, please.
Yeah, I think I would just add that these are considered temporary relief payments for that. Essentially, we're leveraging dollars that are that we're receiving through the American Rescue Plan Act as a result of getting an increased federal matching percentage from the federal partners. So essentially that the time period that has been created has been what has been approved by the governor and through our leadership team. I think the answer for beyond July 1st would be that we don't have appropriations to do the rate increase permanently, and we also do not commit ourselves to future periods where we do not know that the public health emergency would always be in place. It just recently did receive an extension through about July 12th, but we can't make commitments that we don't have the funds to pay out the door, if that makes sense. So thanks.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Sorry, the next question on the list. In the original announcement, it stated that there would be a $55 for family supports. What happened to that, or where does it apply?
Jeremy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not familiar with that particular $55. The one that we announced was just a 15% rate increase, and then the $20 per day for the ALF facilities. Are you aware of any $55 amount that was supposed to be remitted, Jeremy?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the $55 that was referenced in the question from Sarah. So I think it's something that we could potentially try to research outside of this call, but I'm not familiar with that. I'm from a Medicaid program perspective.
The next question, if a claim is only partially paid, will it pay for the entire aggregated amount?
Again, we will pull data from just the paid claims. And as Charles mentioned, there's a 2-week window there where we'll try and incorporate all the information and all the payments that will have been paid for those particular dates. So I guess the answer to that is yes. If they're paid claims during that designation period, we will do our best to pay them during that time. But again, we just urge you to try and submit your claims in a timely fashion so they are processed and paid and ready to go.
Is there an individual that we should contact directly to address the unpaid claims so that everything is set to be submitted for payment by the deadline?
If you can submit your request to the DDH, this email address on the screen over here, that's where you can submit all your questions and all your requests for us to incorporate your claims that are not paid. We'll do the best we can to make sure that you're incorporated with the actual payment that goes out the door. Again, I could not stress enough the importance of you making sure that you've submitted your claims on time so we can incorporate those payments for the final payment.
How soon will the PowerPoint slides be available?
I believe by close of business today. We shall send them out as soon as we're done with this call.
So the next question, can you confirm this is for AD providers of all child's ages? Some info I have seen seems to be specific to EDC. I think he means EDN. So I want to clarify that the services that were announced are included for the 15% rate increase. The only exclusions for the AD waiver were listed on one of the earlier slides here. And if there is something specific to the early development network, the early development network serves more than the aged and disabled waiver. So this would only apply to providers that serve the aged and disabled waiver. There's also a request to confirm the phone number. So our division has a general phone number that we give out to folks and we route them to the right place. So yes, this is the correct phone number.
That is correct. And that's the email address that somebody monitors that email every day. So you can be rest assured your questions will be answered, your concerns will be addressed. We're here to serve you, we're here to help you. Any other questions?
I see there's another one that asks, will we be notified when these payments have been made? And yeah, the answer to that is yes. We'll be sending out detailed cost reports of how the payment was calculated, and each provider will get those.
Yes, so that file that Charles speaks of is going to be an Excel spreadsheet, which will detail exactly what you were going to be paid for, what claims were paid, how the calculation was made for the 15% rate increase. It will have all the information that you require. And if it's not enough, you can always call us back and we can dig more information for you. Any other questions? Sounds like we did a good job presenting, team. So, hey, sounds like everybody's satisfied. Well, if there's no other questions, then we're going to go ahead and adjourn to respect everybody's time. Please feel free to email us, call us. We're going to post this on the website, like mentioned, and we're going to email the slides to you as well. All right. Thank you so much for attending. I appreciate your time. Have a nice day.